Hi, my name is David Howe. I'm the founder of SubscriberWise, the nation's largest issuing consumer reporting agency for the telecommunications industry. I'm also known as the U.S. Credit Czar and FICO Global GOAT. Today I'm going to dispel any doubts about whether carrying a balance is good for a FICO score. Specifically, I'm going to focus on the misinformation that was presented earlier this year by credit expert Liz Weston. The misinformation appeared on Bloomberg and other media sources and has confused and confounded self-proclaimed experts for a very long time. So what exactly is the misinformation regarding FICO scores and utilization? Specifically, more than 2 in 5 41%, according to a NerdWallet survey, mistakenly believed that carrying a small balance on a credit card month to month could help improve a person's credit scores. According to Liz Weston, and I quote, "The reality is you do not have to carry a balance. You do not have to have debt to have good credit scores," Weston explained. "You need to have credit accounts and use them lightly, but regularly. There is no reason to carry a balance. There is no reason to pay a penny of interest. I don't, and I have terrific scores." Now let me be clear. The information that Liz Weston has provided here is accurate largely, but it does need additional explanation. It is true, you do not have to pay interest. You can have zero balances owing, zero utilization, and have superior exceptional credit. But it is not true, it is not accurate, that having no balances owing, no utilization, will improve a credit score or will not hurt or lower a credit score. In reality, FICO algorithms look for utilization. That means that a small balance on a single credit card will improve a credit score. Now, is that true for every single credit scorecard? I can't answer that. I do not know the answer. But it seems logical that it would be true because FICO specifically states as a reason factor that there were no recent revolving balances when there's an absence of an installment loan or other revolving account. And we're going to take a look at that. We're going to look at my specific credit profile, and we're going to look at data from FICO to prove this point. Now, before we look at my consumer credit report and measure the impact of having no revolving balance versus having a small balance owing, let's look at FICO risk score reason factors. This information comes directly from FICO, and it supports the point that virtually all credit scorecards, if not 100% of scorecards, will generate more points when utilization is present at the time of scoring and present where it's favorable, say less than 10 or 15% of available credit, and where there's no adverse information. But specifically, if we look at number 16, lack of recent revolving account information, it says your FICO score evaluates your mix of credit products and your credit report shows no open revolving balances or sufficient credit information about your revolving accounts. People who demonstrate responsible use of different types of credit are generally less risky to lenders. Let's turn now to the source, my FICO. Let's find out the practical reality of, or the consequence of not having any balances indicated on a consumer report at the moment a credit score is generated. Let's be clear that the FICO scoring models, the industry-leading FICO score, across all of the models, the industry-specific models, the general-purpose models, they will award more points when utilization is present. And of course that means favorable utilization without adverse information. Now that we know that the claim that there's no advantage to carrying a balance over to the next month is not true, at least for the dominant FICO models, let's log into my FICO and look at the practical reality. We will look at my Transunion credit reports and we will see the impact of balances and not having balances and see how many points I lose under that circumstance. Okay, you'll notice that my FICO score 8 based on TransUnion data as of 9/15/2017 is an 835. Now if you're wondering why my score is not an 850, the reason has to do with a lack of installment loans. I do not have any installment loan on my consumer credit report with a balance active. The last time I had 850 credit scores across all bureaus simultaneously, I had a mortgage on the credit bureaus where the balance was paid about 55%. So the utilization was about half, and it generated a perfect credit score when there was no adverse information, a file history of more than 10 years, and one revolving account that also had a low balance relative to the available credit. If you do a Google search of Fair Isaac Leaves, you will see all the details that generated the perfect credit score. So if we look at the reports function here and bring up the report on 9/15, we will look at the amount that I had outstanding. If we look at the account section, you'll notice these are my credit accounts. I have one account with a balance, and by the way, this is a revolving credit account, credit card, of $1,681. The credit line associated with this account is $30,000, so I'm using a small amount of the revolving credit, approximately 6% of this available credit line, total credit line. Now if we go back to the reports section and we select the report generated on 9/4 TransUnion report, we look at the accounts, and by the way, you notice the score is a 798. Notice in this instance I have no balances owing. So I went from a 798 to an 835. That's a 37-point impact. And by the way, this is the reason that Dave Ramsey reports to his listeners that FICO is an I love debt score. Because as you can see, when a consumer has no obligations owing, no debt, so to speak, no liabilities, the credit score with FICO models actually goes down. In fact, there is a negative impact by not carrying a balance. And if there happened to be a mortgage on the consumer report that had an 835 in addition to the revolving balance, and that mortgage was paid favorably and the utilization was about 50% paid, I would have an 850 credit score. And that is a fact. So more debt, more liabilities from a modeling perspective with FICO means a higher credit score. Are FICO scores really I love debt scores? Of course they're not. FICO scores are nothing more than predictive models. They are rank order technologies that allow creditors to summarize risk based on a score. And it may be counterintuitive that less debt means a lower score, or no debt specifically means lower scores. And that's because rank order technology, in conjunction with empirically derived statistical calculations of millions of consumer credit files, demonstrates that consumers who actively and responsibly manage revolving and installment loans or accounts are more reliable from those who don't, at least based on FICO modeling. So to conclude, no debt, no balances owing, FICO score 798. Go back to the reports. We look at a score from 9/15. 1,681 outstanding. We know that the score is an 835. For the record, scorecards are the primary reason the majority of consumers, even the self-proclaimed experts, remain confused about scoring in general, but by the granular details in particular. As you can see, it's easy to oversimplify information about credit scoring, particularly the predictive factors that often involve counterintuitive reasoning from a human perspective. And that's exactly what happened to these otherwise generally accurate and helpful articles, news stories produced by Liz Weston and others, at least from my professional perspective, at least from the perspective of the FICO GOAT. I hope you found this information helpful and informative. And if you want to learn more, you can follow me on Facebook as Credit Czar. Thank you for your time and attention.